Most games or really any form of media, whenever it comes to bringing up mental illness, it never does it right. For whatever reason, they always mess up with representing whatever they are trying to show, and they end up making a person with the illness actually look a lot worse than anything else. But Hellblade isn't like this. Hellblade is probably the best way of showing like mental illness and how to deal with it, and it's also just a really great game. Now, I remember not really wanting to play this game the first time when it came out, mainly because my introduction to this game was a YouTube video using it for console wars. But like, talk about how, when it was exclusive only to PlayStation, that, the game was a masterpiece, but then once it got on Xbox, somehow became awful and boring, and that only increased after, Microsoft bought Ninja Theory. So I was really planning on playing the game until one day I was looking through Game Pass and I came across the game and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this game a chance, and I'm happy I did because this game is really good. It is a game that has been praised a lot and for good reason. And with Hellblade 2 coming out soon, I want to go ahead and make a video talk about the first Hellblade. So let's go ahead and get started.
And down through deep, dark valleys. After 9 nights of riding, you will follow a great river and will find a bridge covered in gold. The path to Helheim goes from there, across the river of knives that flows from the dark world of Niflheim.
So the graphics for Hellblade are downright beautiful. They are like there's some downright jaw-breaking moments that just will make you just have just make your jaw just drop because just how beautiful this game is. However, there are also moments where it feels very haunting and dark, and I love it.
Dwell in Alfheim. The evil ones dwell in Svartalfheim. The mountain giants dwell in Jotunheim. The fire giants dwell in Muspelheim. Niflheim is the world of ice and darkness. Only the dead dwell in Helheim, and that is where you must travel.
Now, the game talks and mentions a lot about Nordic gods from Norse mythology, and I personally love this. Even though I am Catholic, I do find Norse mythology and the Nordic gods awesome. And the same thing with Greek mythology as well, but not as much as Norse mythology. Like, I just find it I find it so awesome. So the game starts with you entering Helheim, and from the very beginning of the game, it makes it clear that it's all about mental illness. This game is all about anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and psychosis, and it shows all of this with our main character, Senua. Throughout the game, she goes through all of these, alone, and we are basically just there watching her suffer. This entire game is Senua's own personal journey of, dealing with mental illness and fighting her demons. And you could say this entire game is all in Senua's head, and none of it actually happens in the real world. So I should probably talk about the gameplay of this game, which in my opinion is pretty good, and it's probably one of the best things about this game. Now, the gameplay outside of combat is very simple. So simple, in fact, I feel like you could see this as a walking sim. In fact, I've seen some people call it that. Your default speed is a walk, which I do love because you get to really appreciate the areas you are in. However, you can jog to move a little faster. However, you cannot sprint outside of combat. You have puzzles throughout the game, like having to find and match an outline of a certain thing, or you might have to walk across like a very narrow beam and stop yourself from falling. And these puzzles can be very hard to solve and take some time. But I like what many YouTubers have said about, how we, the player, aren't solving these puzzles, but Senua is. So, one of my favorite YouTubers, his name is Monty Zander. Check him out. Like, he makes amazing videos. And, in his video about Hellblade, he talks about how, if we were playing as Kratos or any other character, they wouldn't do these puzzles. They would just open the door. But, Senua does have to do them. And, these are for Senua. And I just love that. Also, throughout the game, you can find these stones that will give you some stories about, Norse mythology.
From Muspel became the stars. Other sparks melted ice in the frozen world of Niflheim, creating the body of the first giant, Ymir. Muspel is one of the 9 worlds, and is now the land of the fire giants, and people from elsewhere cannot endure a journey there.
However, where this game shines in my opinion is the combat. To this day, I haven't played a game that has such amazing and fluent sword combat as Hellblade. The combat of this game is so great and every attack you make feels so amazing. You can give you can give quick small attacks a heavy attack, you can kick the enemy for a melee attack, which really helps drop the defenses of these shield enemies you'll fight later throughout the game. You can dodge, you can block. However, if you time your block at the right time, it will cause you to parry your enemy and you can get some quick hits in. The combat is easily one of the best things about this game, and one thing I love about it. It feels so fluent. It makes you really feels like it makes you really feel like a true swordsman, and I love that. You will also have the ability to focus in combat, which slows down time, and this will allow you to get some hits in while the enemy can't do anything to defend themselves. And it definitely helps with some later enemies like the shield enemies and these boots who they can easily take you out in like 2 hits. Now, I said earlier that you can't sprint in this game. Well, I kind of lied because you can run towards the enemy and do a jump attack while in combat, but you can't do it outside of combat, other than scripted moments. Now, the game does something after it introduces combat that I don't really like, and that is the first combat section. You're supposed to lose and die, and a message will appear that saying the dark rot will grow each time you fail. If the rot reaches Senua's head, her quest is over and all progress will be lost. So, this message gives off the idea that, this game has permadeath, which is a lie. Now, unlike some people, I don't mind games having permadeath, but I think it should only be on the hardest, most extreme difficulty mode, for the players who really want that challenge. So, I like that Hellblade doesn't have permadeath, but I don't like that it lies about having it. I've heard the argument that the point is to make you, more worried about Senua and, be more on your guard during combat and making sure you'll be more careful. Which, I mean, it did work on my first playthrough. Whenever I died, I was worried for Senua and was worried about the rot growing. But then once I realized there was no permadeath, you don't have to worry about it. Like, it takes away any of that worry and fear the game had at first. And this message, and now death, meant nothing. My problem isn't the fact that, the game doesn't have it. My problem is the fact, Ninja Theory didn't really commit to it. Instead, they mentioned it and made us all believe that, hey, this was the case, only for it not to be true. And it really just makes me question, okay, why put this message in the game in the first place? However, the combat is just perfect, and I love that this game isn't like other games. It's not a power fantasy game where, you're the most badass person who will always win, no matter who you come across. Senua, Senua is fragile, and even though, she is a badass warrior, she can still be defeated very quickly, so, you need to be careful in combat. So throughout the game, you will hear voices talking, or more like whispering throughout the game. Now, these are all actually in Senua's head, and they are known as Furies, and they will talk about what is going on in the game. If Senua solves a puzzle, defeats an enemy or boss, like, they will congratulate her and be happy and for her and everything, but they will also insult her, ridicule her, beat her down a lot.
No idea. We're going round in circles. You have fallen in love. You think that sound is Dillian's voice? It's a trap. You walked right into there. They have you.
And these are just perfect. They are one of the best things about this game. They are her thoughts. They really give you an idea of how Senua is, what she thinks. They are also very useful in combat because they can warn you whenever an enemy's behind you and is going to attack you. And if you respond fast enough, you can do stuff like this, and it feels so good every time. Which I mentioned them a little when talking about the combat, but I love the enemies in this game. So the enemies you fight in this game are called Northmen because, this game is big with Norse mythology. But I absolutely love these enemies. I know people might complain because, there are only a small amount of enemy types and, you just fight them over and over. But I don't mind because as long as the gameplay is fun, that's the only thing that is important to me. Another great thing about this game are the boss battles, which, they're all great, but the first 2 bosses are my absolute favorite. Shoot and Valravn, which I know I've mispronounced their names, I'm sorry. But Valravn is the god of illusions, and I love that while you make your way to him, a lot of the puzzles deal with illusions, and you also see Valravn watching you before it quickly returns to it like a skeleton statue. And I love this, and fight with him is awesome. I do like that, he summons normal enemies for you to fight as a little break in between fighting him.
And she would not have this chance to find Dillian's soul.
I'm coming. I still hear you.
So, now, Shoot, which again I know I'm mispronouncing his name, is the god of fire, and throughout his whole part, you have moments where the entire forest is on fire, which every area in this game represents a part of Senua's past, and we discover more about her. And at the end of each section, could really show Senua moving like through this issue, and that's what this area is showing because it's supposed to represent like a Viking attack on her village. But the boss against Shoot is great. He is covered in fire and such an amazing fight. He's covered in fire. As far as I know, you cannot block any of his attacks, so you have to dodge everything. Also, there are moments where he will light himself on fire, so you have to use focus in order to get rid of the fire so you can hit him. These two beginning bosses were just so great and amazing, and the other bosses are great as well. So I feel like I should go ahead and talk about the story of this game, which is just so fantastic and does the best job ever showing what Senua is going through, and making us understand and show it in a good light.
Hello. Who are you? Doesn't matter. Welcome. You're safe with me. I'll be right here, nice and close so I can speak without alerting the others. Let me tell you about Senua. Her story has already come to an end, but now it begins anew.
What's happening? It's breathing. Dead. It's breathing. It's breathing. He knows she's getting closer. He can feel her coming closer. She's getting closer. They're watching. They're watching. They're watching.
This is a journey deep into darkness. There will be no more stories after this one.
What is she doing? Why is she doing this? They're watching. Why doesn't she feel you coming? She's doing this for him. She wants to rescue him. He's already dead. I can feel you coming. Quiet.
Oh, how rude of me. I never told you of the others. You hear them too, right? They've been around ever since the tragedy. Well, that's not quite true. Some are old, some are new, but they've changed. I think the darkness changed them, just like it changed her.
Look around you. Can you see them? Over there. Why isn't she looking? Why aren't you looking? He's in hell.
Look, up ahead. You see it too?
You promised you could.
Yes. It is real after all. She's finally arrived in the land of mist and fog. The place the Northmen call Hell.
Turn back. Go back. Go back. It's not safe. Go back. Go back. Go back. It's not safe.
It's there. They're here.
Can you see that? I can see it.
Look around and you will see them. The drowned, the sick, the slain. Here they lie, rotting in the fields and rivers of hell. But the dead don't always lie still here.
Can you see them? Can you see them? They're going to do that to you. Go back.
Can you feel it?
What is she thinking? I can tell you. She's afraid. Wouldn't you be? You'd think she would get used to it by now after so many years. But the darkness, it just builds onto itself, growing stronger, towering over her. You might try and ignore it, turn away. But it's always there, just out of sight, where you're most vulnerable. It's like it knows that just enough light is all you need to see its suffocating power.
They can feel you.
You might think she's brave to go on this journey on her own, but it isn't bravery that drives her. Bravery only means something to those afraid of death. Senua's fear runs far, far deeper. What is she looking at? What is she leaving behind? I know what she's thinking. I hear her thoughts. It's not too late to get into the boat and go back. No one will judge her. No one will ever know. Oh, she heard us. There's no going back.
You can't do it.
Senua pushes away a world that conspired to cause so much suffering. There's nothing to go back to, and worse to look forward to. Why don't you join us? Maybe you too have a part to play in this story.
So I already talked about the beginning of the game, but a quick summary. Senua arrives in Helheim by rowboat and then pushes the boat away so that no matter what, she continues on her goal, which is to retrieve the soul of her lover Delion, who was killed in a Viking raid on her village, and his head is what is on her hip throughout the entire game. So Senua has to fight both Valrana and Strud, and then is allowed to enter through the gate to Helheim. And I just love this moment, so I'm just gonna let it play out.
Averted from life. You ran from it but brought it nearer, led it to him. An endless suffering, worse than death. And you wanted to surrender, abandon and to find peace with the gods. No. The darkness won't allow it. So you will walk into the lair of the beast. Look it in the eye, and you will go to war. This is your mission. This is your quest. There is nothing else left. The gods made you a warrior for a reason. It's your calling. When there is a new road ahead, the only one that makes any sense.
So after we cross the bridge and solve more puzzles, we make our way to Helheim only to come across Hera, and man, I love how she looks.
Hela possesses large dwelling places in Helheim. Tall are her walls, high are her gates. The name of her dish is hunger. Her knife is famine. On her threshold all will stumble. Her bed is called sick bed, and her bed hangings are called flames of a funeral pyre. They say she is easy to recognize, half black and half the color of flesh, and her face menacing and grim.
You failed the gods. You're pathetic, rotten, cursed. What were you thinking? Did you really think you could win? How stupid can you be?
So stupid.
Everyone hates her. She's cursed.
The shadow hates.
Look at you. A warrior. Worthless. Weak. Pathetic. Go on. Feel sorry for yourself, because there's no one left to do that for you.
Everywhere. You failed. What's that?
Take it. If you're too much of a coward to fight, then end the suffering. Broken and lost. Just like your sword.
Come on. Dare.
Why go on when you give everything and face that which torments you, only to find that it is worse than you could have imagined? Why go on? Is it really so weak to ask this? Or are we just so afraid of the honest answer that we do not dare pose the question? Sometimes the answer lies in a memory, a feeling, a song.
It's not real. It's a trick. It's not real. It is real. Listen to it. She can
Don't give up.
Dillian. Dillian. It's
Not like this.
It can't. It's not real. It is real. It's a trick. Don't trust it. Baby, you're already dead.
Who are you?
Do you still believe in me, Senua?
No, it's not. It's a trick. She knows it's it. It's a trick. He's already dead. He can't be here. It's impossible.
Dillian.
Come to me. Please.
it's real. What's happening? Go towards it.
I honestly think if this was a horror game, she would be the main monster chasing after you. And, Senua's sword gets broken when she tries to fight back and is thrown off a bridge. So Senua wakes up and has to follow a light that says it's Delion. And I love that the scene that we have with Delion, both here and before, we basically take the role of Delion. And we never really get to see him up until this point. We see him later, which I actually don't really like. But, we don't get to see him, and we don't know what he looks like, and it's almost as like we are Delion. However, we the player can also be one of the voices in her head, yelling at her, maybe even cursing at her, criticizing her, and you're making her feel bad. So Senua tries to get her sword from a tree, but she has to go through the trials of Odin so as she may recover. So the first trial, you have to walk through a dark cave and you have to follow Delion's voice, and this is actually kind of hard to get through. It's hard to know if you're going the right way, and you will end up going around in circles, ending up where you were before, and the Furies will laugh at Senua if you keep messing up. However, you find out that it's not Deleon's voice, and instead Senua has to confront her past and her father, the man she fears and who abused her and caused her pain and suffering. And we see this through a flashback where Senua tells her father she is leaving, and he yells, hits her, telling her not to defy the gods and that she is cursed and has rot inside of her before she pulls a sword on him and leaves. So the second trial has you going through a rotten swamp so you can reach Dilion, and it's not that hard. But you do have to repair a bridge, with the perspective puzzles. But then you enter the house, and then you have to run away from some fire while you have to look for some ruins. And this is a little bit hard just because running through all this, it does look the same. Everything does look the same, but you do get to Dilion's light, but just look for Dilion's light so that you can find the ruins. So the third trial, we have to reach the top of the meat hall, and we switch from it being destroyed and being fixed, and when it's fixed, everything is golden and beautiful. Meanwhile, when we switch back, everything is destroyed and decayed. And I absolutely love this section. This is probably my favorite trial out of all of them.
His own death, and the gods fear for his life. So Baldur's mother makes everything in the world: fire, water, iron, stone, earth, wood, beasts, birds, serpents, poison, sickness, swear an oath not to harm her sons. One by one, they each make their vow. Neither weapons nor wood will injure him, Baldur's mother boasts. Only Loki, father of Hela, the mistress of death, is not amused.
So remember how I mentioned that throughout the game you will come across these stones talking about Norse mythology, which I've also been playing some of them throughout the course of this video? Well, in the meat hall, we have the story of Balder, who, if you remember from God of War, he cannot be killed by anything other than a mistletoe.
Could see him. I have no weapon. Loki replies, "Here is a wand. I will tell you where he stands." And Hurth throws the mistletoe at Balder. It pierces through him, and to everyone's horror, Balder is killed. And for this, Hurth is slain.
This has nothing to do with anything, by the way. I just thought it was really cool to mention. Like, at this part, you can learn the story of him, which I think just like everything with Norse mythology is really cool. So the last trial is you have to walk in a pitch black hallway and you can't see a thing. And once you enter this house, there's this creature inside that you can't see. Then you go outside and there are more of them and they are moving around, and then it keeps going, and you have to move slowly throughout the whole thing until you fall into a well. Then you have to run in the water towards Dilion's light while avoiding the creatures. And this whole part scared the crap out of me so much. It did my first playthrough and it still does. My heart was beating so fast I could feel it because of how scared I was. But this honestly made me feel what Senua was feeling as well. At the end, I was cheering her on. I was telling her, "Come on, you can do it. You can do it." Like, there was a part where I had to cross the beam, and I was like, "Hey, it's okay. Like, you got this." It was almost like I was one of the Furies telling her to keep going. So Senua has completed every trial, so she now has, she can now grab the sword.
And she saw a way out. to leave her past behind and become a warrior in Dillion's clan.
It's not safe.
The sword is tainted by the gods of darkness. Leave it.
No. He left it here. He wants me to take it.
You will pay a price for this.
But years later, with Zinbel's parting words still haunting her, the darkness came back with a vengeance. A plague.
Dillion?
Everyone suffered.
My father was not supposed to die like this.
Dillion.
Do you see it clearly now, Senua? The suffering you've caused.
This is your fault. You brought this plague to us. You have blood on your hands.
They're coming for you now.
They're coming.
They're coming to get you.
Hold your heavy strike. Hold it. Hold the heavy strike.
The new sword Senua has can block and attack Northmen who are covered in darkness I think if the focus is fully filled, sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. And also, this new parry animation is really cool. So we arrive in Hell, and this place looks badass. I know Hell isn't a good place, and no one should want to be here, but I can totally see this place being used for a metal music cover, a metal music video. But either way, I love going through Hell in this game, and it honestly might be my favorite section. So Senua hears her mother crying and goes to find her, and we have to fight loads of Northmen, kind of like we did on the bridge to Helheim. But I like this better. I like this better, with Senua's new sword and fighting in Hell. It just feels cooler, and it just looks more badass. Tell me this doesn't look cooler. Now, I love every location in this game. I think Ninja Theory has done a wonderful job on them, but I seriously think Hell is probably the best because just all the detail and the red-orange filter, and we see all these tortured souls. I don't know, maybe something is wrong with me, but this just looks really cool, especially with how short we are here. This area really left an impact. Now, I will give a trigger warning for anyone who might have or have had thoughts of suicide, because this scene of Senua wanting to jump off the cliff and die is hard to get through. Now, if you have had suicidal thoughts, I'm not going to try to say anything or suggest you do anything, because frankly, I don't know. I don't know what you need. I don't like getting personal on this channel, but a couple months back, I had suicidal thoughts. Now, remember earlier in the video I mentioned how I was Catholic. I didn't bring that up because, I'm one of those people that, they quote the Bible all the time and, they tell you how wrong you are because, you don't believe what I believe. No, in fact, I hate those people so much. But, the reason I brought it up was because my solution to, stop me from doing that was the church and religion. But you do whatever you think is best for you. I'm not here to give advice because I don't know shit about anything other than video games. So that got very deep and personal, and I'm sorry, but this scene is rough to get through since I've had that feeling of, jumping like Senua here. But, Dillion talks her out of it, and she then carries on with her new sword she got from the tree. So Senua has to run through a dark hallway that has a creature that lurks in the dark, with her only safety being the light. It honestly gave me Alan Wake vibes right here, honestly. That is, until you can get a torch and then you can freely walk, you freely walk around because the fire will keep the creature away while you look for the runes. Now, a weird glitch happened here where I think because I was holding a torch, Senua wasn't able to get her sword out, but I got into combat and Senua just started throwing hands and punching, and because, her sword was, sheathed, and it was pretty funny. Senua would lose Dillion's head while trying to run away from the creatures, so she has to now go down and retrieve his head so she can get his soul back, which this game can scare the crap out of you sometimes because I was not expecting this dude to show up out of nowhere. And also trying to move through these dark tunnels is very hard because you can't see a thing, and it sucks. But I was also being an idiot doing this puzzle.
hear you.
Come back to me, Senua.
I'm coming for you. I'm coming. Use your eyes. The light doesn't know it is. Dillian, I see you. Run. The beast has Dillian. No. It's time. You're not taking it from me. Think.
I can smell your
No.
betrayed your god.
I am leaving with him.
Turn your back on me. That is why Dillian will rot in hell.
Has to fight him. Fight for Dillian.
Come into my shadow.
So we have to fight the creature who's hiding in the shadows, and I think it's supposed to represent, her father and, the man, the man that has, abused her probably the most in her life. And man, look at these clean parries I do.
Must look there. He's behind him.
So we fix the bridge, and then we have to fight loads of Northmen, kind of like we did at the beginning and in Hell. And then we open the door, and we can finally come face to face with Hela. I love once you walk into here, the fairies start freaking out and begging Senua to stop because they don't want to die. Meanwhile, they've been insulting her, demeaning her throughout the whole game, and Senua keeps pushing, and she keeps moving on like she always has. Because even though they all call her weak and a coward, Senua is actually a lot stronger and braver than she thinks.
I'm sorry. I didn't ask you to be a part of me. If you don't want to die with me, then leave me alone.
I don't want to die. Please stop. 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 You'll never come back if you go there.
There is nothing to go back to.
We only have each other now. Don't abandon me.
Everyone suffers. They were right about me.
Listen to me, not them. They were afraid. Like children scared of the dark.
So was I.
They made up monsters to fill the void. That doesn't make them real.
They made them real.
No!
Follow your soul and let go of the Senua of old. For there lies your weakness, and the darkness will find it.
Now, I remember my first playthrough of this game. I was expecting, this big boss battle with Hela, with Senua becoming victorious, killing her and getting Dillion's soul and freeing him, but that isn't what happens. Instead, you fight your way to Hela, and even refighting some old bosses, you fight wave after wave of Northmen who will keep showing up until you lose. You cannot win. Now, this was not my first playthrough, and I know when the player knows a scripted event will happen, they normally just let it happen. But I always fight as long as I can, because to me, I know that's what Senua would do. We've been with her throughout this whole journey, and I grew with her. I helped her, and even though I know this is a scripted event, I kept fighting and fighting and fighting until I eventually died. Because in my opinion, this is what Senua would do throughout the whole game. She has never given up, and I don't think she would now.
Never forget what it is like to see the world as a child, Senua. Every autumn leaf is like a work of art. Every rolling cloud a moving picture. Every day a new story. We too emerge from this magic, like a wave from the ocean, only to return to the sea.
Goodbye, my love.
Do not mourn the waves, the leaves, and the clouds. Even in darkness, the wonder and the beauty of this world never leaves us. It is always there, waiting to be seen again.
Oh no. Oh. It's the rot. The darkness is back. The darkness is back. Wait. What is it? It feels... It's different. It feels... It's okay. Is it okay?
This is where my story once began.
It's different.
And so it has to end here,
It's changed.
because I cannot see further than this. Follow us. We have another story to tell. My friend, go with her. This now will be your story to witness. Goodbye.
So Senua moves on from Dillion, moves on from her trauma, and this is shown by the rot on her arm going away, and she walks away seeming at peace with her life. Now, I personally feel like the title of Masterpiece is thrown around too much by people, and I honestly think the word is, I do think the word is overused when it comes to games. In my opinion, there are honestly only 3 games that are actual masterpieces in my mind. And these games are perfect in every way, in their story, gameplay, characters, music, and just everything about them, that by the time I was done playing with them, they just left a huge impact on me. And to me, those 3 masterpieces are Dark Souls 3, We Happy Few, and Hellblade. Hellblade is such a fantastic game, and I cannot wait for Hellblade 2. And I've heard that Hellblade 2 is supposed to be darker than this one, which I would be surprised because this game is pretty dark. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. And no matter what you are going through, you can make it. We just have to follow, because Senua went through hell, and she made it out okay. And all we have to do, all we have to do is follow Senua's example. Keep fighting.
That's not what I believe, and it doesn't matter anyway. A part of your soul ties you to the next world, or maybe to the last, but I'm still not sure. But what I do know is to us the world is different, as we are to the world. I guess you would know that. Please don't go, I want you to stay. I'm begging you, please. Please don't leave here. I don't want you to hate for all the hurt that you feel. The world is just illusion, trying to change you. Please don't go, I want you to stay. I'm begging you, please. Oh, please don't leave here. I don't want you to change for all the hurt that you feel. This world is just a change you.